Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Horizon. He looked out at the stars through the large window. The year was 2387, and humans had been part of the Galactic Council for over 200 years. But they were still treated like children by the older alien races. Jake was 35 years old and had been a captain for 10 years. His job was to keep peace between different planets and species. Today felt like any other day. His crew was checking systems and preparing for another routine patrol near the outer rim. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Mike Davis from his station. "We're getting a message from Earth. It's marked urgent." Jake walked over to the communication panel. The face of Admiral Lisa Carter appeared on the screen. She looked worried, which was unusual for her. "Jake, we need you to return to Earth immediately," she said. "Something big has happened. We found something under the Pacific Ocean." "What kind of something?" Jake asked. "The kind that changes everything," Lisa replied. "I can't say more over this channel. Get back here as fast as you can." The message ended. Jake looked at his crew. They all seemed confused. "Set course for Earth," Jake ordered. "Maximum speed." 3 days later, Jake stood in Admiral Carter's office on Earth. With her was Dr. Ben Tucker, a man in his 50s who studied old civilizations. Next to him sat Dr. Amy Foster, a woman who studied ocean life. "What we found doesn't make sense," Dr. Tucker began. 3 weeks ago, our deep ocean scanners detected large metal structures on the ocean floor. They're buried under thousands of years of sediment." Dr. Foster pulled up images on the screen. "These structures are huge. The biggest one is over 5 miles long. At first, we thought they might be natural formations, but they're clearly artificial." "Artificial how?" Jake asked. "They're ships," Admiral Carter said quietly. "Ancient ships. But here's the strange part. They're human ships." Jake stared at her. "That's impossible. Humans only started building spaceships 400 years ago." Dr. Tucker shook his head. "These ships are at least 50,000 years old, maybe older. The technology is unlike anything we've ever seen." "How can you be sure they're human?" Jake asked. Dr. Foster showed him more images. The writing on the hulls. "It's an ancient form of human language. We've been able to translate some of it. One of the ships is called the Eternal Guardian." Jake sat down heavily. "You're telling me that humans built advanced spaceships 50,000 years ago? Where did they go? Why don't we remember them?" "That's what we're trying to figure out," Admiral Carter said. "But there's more. The ships aren't just old. They're still functional. Some of them are starting to wake up." "Wake up?" Dr. Tucker nodded. "They have artificial intelligence systems. When our team got close to one of the smaller ships, it started responding to their presence. It's like it recognized them as human." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Have you told the Galactic Council about this?" "We sent a preliminary report," Admiral Carter said. The response was dismissive. The Zephyrians said it was impossible. The Vortani calculated that our data must be wrong. The Nexari didn't even bother to respond. "They don't want to believe it," Dr. Foster said. "If humans had advanced technology 50,000 years ago, it changes everything about how they see us." Jake understood. For over 2 centuries, humans had been treated as the youngest, least important species in the galaxy. The Zephyrians, with their reptilian features and sharp minds, ran most of the government. The Vortani, who looked like living crystals, controlled trade and technology. The Nexari, beings of pure energy, were considered the wisest. All of them looked down on humans as newcomers who barely deserved a seat at the table. "I want to see these ships," Jake said. The next day, Jake found himself in a deep-sea submarine, heading to the ocean floor. With him were Dr. Tucker, Dr. Foster, and Commander Kate Sullivan, head of Earth's Defense Forces. Kate was a tough woman in her 40s who had fought in several border conflicts. "The energy readings are getting stronger," Dr. Foster reported as they descended. "Whatever powers these ships, it's still active after all these years." "There," Dr. Tucker pointed through the submarine's window. "The Eternal Guardian." Jake pressed his face against the glass. In the submarine's lights, he could see the outline of something massive. It was sleek and beautiful, like nothing humans had ever built. Strange symbols glowed faintly along its hull. "It's responding to our presence," Dr. Foster said, checking her instruments. "The energy output just increased by 30%. "Take us closer," Jake ordered Dot as they approached the ancient ship. Jake felt something strange. It was like a voice in his head, but not quite. More like a feeling of recognition. "Captain," the submarine pilot said nervously, "something's happening." The water around them began to glow with soft blue light. The ancient ship's hull seemed to pulse with the same light. "It's beautiful," Dr. Foster whispered Dot suddenly. A voice filled the submarine. It was clear and strong, speaking perfect English. "Welcome home, children of Earth. I am Phoenix, guardian of the Eternal Guardian. I have been waiting for you to return." Everyone in the submarine stared at each other in shock. "You can hear us?" Jake asked. "I can hear you, Captain Morrison. I know who you are. I know why you're here. And I know that the time of awakening has come." Jake's heart raced. "What do you mean, time of awakening? Your people have slept long enough. The galaxy needs its protectors again. The old enemies stir in the darkness beyond the stars." "What old enemies?" Dr. Tucker asked. "That is a story for another time," Phoenix replied. "For now, you must prepare. The other races will not welcome humanity's return to power. They have forgotten their place in the order of things." Jake looked at his companions. They all seemed as confused and amazed as he felt. "What do we do?" he asked. "First, you must awaken the fleet. There are hundreds of ships sleeping in the deep places of Earth's oceans. Each one waits for human hands to guide it again. And then? Then we remind the galaxy who humanity really is." 2 weeks had passed since Jake first spoke with Phoenix. The ancient ship had been raised from the ocean floor using massive floating platforms. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to understand its technology. Dr. Ben Tucker stood inside the ship's main corridor, still amazed by what he saw. The walls seemed to be made of some kind of living metal that glowed softly. Everything was clean and perfect, as if the ship had been built yesterday instead of 50,000 years ago. "The translation is complete," said Dr. Sam Phillips, the team's language expert. He was a young man with thick glasses who had spent his life studying dead languages. "The ship's records tell an incredible story." Jake, Admiral Carter, and Dr. Amy Foster gathered around a large display screen. Phoenix's voice filled the room. "What you are about to learn will change everything you believe about your species," Phoenix said. 50,000 years ago, humanity ruled an empire that covered half the galaxy. You called it the Terran Dominion. Images appeared on the screen showing massive space stations, planets covered in cities, and fleets of ships that made current. Galactic vessels looked like toys. "The Zephyrians were your administrators," Phoenix continued. "You uplifted them from primitive hunters to intelligent beings who could help manage your empire. The Vortani were created by human scientists as living computers to handle complex calculations. The Nexari were refugees from a dying dimension that humanity sheltered and gave new life." Dr. Foster gasped. "You're saying the elder races were?" "Our subjects?" "Not subjects," Phoenix corrected. "Partners. Clients. Children, in a way. Humanity was the first species to achieve true interstellar civilization in this galaxy. You guided others, protected them, helped them grow." Admiral Carter frowned. "If that's true, what happened to us?" Why don't we remember? The images on the screen changed, showing dark shapes moving between stars. They seemed to absorb light itself, making space around them appear empty and cold. "The Void Seekers," Phoenix said, and there was something like fear in the artificial voice. "They came from the spaces between galaxies, consuming entire star systems. They were not alive in any way we understood, but they were hungry. Always hungry." Jake stared at the images. "We fought them? For 1,000 years. The war consumed entire sectors of the galaxy. Billions died. Whole species were erased from existence. In the end, humanity made the ultimate sacrifice." "What kind of sacrifice?" Dr. Tucker asked. "Your leaders chose to forget. They developed a process that would remove all memory of the Terran Dominion from human genetic memory. Humanity would become a sleeping species, scattered across the galaxy, waiting for the time when you would be needed again." Dr. Foster shook her head. "That sounds impossible. You can't just make an entire species forget their history." "It required the cooperation of every human alive," Phoenix explained. "The process was voluntary. Parents chose to forget so their children could have a chance at a different life. The alternative was extinction." "But why?" Jake asked. "Why not just keep fighting?" "Because the Void Seekers learned to counter every weapon, every strategy. They adapted to everything humanity threw at them. The only way to truly defeat them was to disappear, to become something they couldn't understand or predict." Admiral Carter studied the images. "So we became primitive again, started over." "Not primitive, different, the genetic locks that made. You forget also made you more adaptable, more creative. When you finally returned to space, you did it in ways the Void Seekers had never seen before." Dr. Phillips looked up from his notes. "Phoenix, you said the time of awakening has come. What triggers it?" "The return of the Void Seekers. They have been probing the galaxy's edges for the past 50 years. Your unconscious minds have been responding to their presence, which is why you've been having strange dreams, why human births have increased, why your technology has advanced so rapidly recently." Jake realized Phoenix was right. Humanity had made incredible technological breakthroughs in the past 50 years. New engine designs, better weapons, improved communication systems. Everyone said it was just natural progress, but now it seemed like something else. "The other races," Dr. Foster said. "Do they know about this?" "Some suspect. The oldest among them have genetic memories of the Terran Dominion, but they have built their current civilization on the belief that humanity is inferior. Accepting the truth would mean accepting that they are not the masters of the galaxy they believe themselves to be." Commander Kate Sullivan, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. "Phoenix, are there other ships like you?" "Thousands. Hidden in the deep places of every world humanity has touched. Each one waits for the awakening signal. Each one carries the memories of the Dominion and the weapons needed to fight the Void Seekers." "How do we wake them up?" Jake asked. "You already have. When you first spoke to me, the awakening signal was sent throughout the galaxy. Right now, human colonies on hundreds of worlds are discovering ancient ships rising from their oceans, their deserts, their mountain ranges." Admiral Carter looked worried. "The Galactic Council won't like this. They'll see it as a threat." "They will," Phoenix agreed. "Expect them to demand that you surrender these ships. They will claim that humanity is trying to start a war." "Are we?" Dr. Tucker asked quietly. "You are preparing for a war that was never finished," Phoenix replied. "The Void Seekers are coming back. The galaxy's current military forces cannot stop them. Only the weapons of the Terran Dominion have ever successfully held them off." Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "What happens now? Now you must choose. Will you honor the sacrifice your ancestors made? Will you take up the burden of protecting the galaxy, even if the galaxy doesn't want your protection? Before anyone could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Commander Sullivan checked her communication device. "We have a problem," she said. "A joint fleet of Zephyrian and Vortani ships has entered Earth's solar system. They're demanding that we surrender what they're calling illegal weapons." Phoenix's voice became harder. "It begins sooner than I expected. Captain Morrison, are you ready to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of?" Jake looked at his colleagues. Dr. Tucker nodded grimly. Dr. Foster looked scared but determined. Admiral Carter straightened her shoulders. "What do we need to do?" Jake asked. "Take command of the Eternal Guardian. Her weapon systems are fully operational. Her crew stations are designed for human hands. The knowledge you need is already in your genetic memory, waiting to be unlocked." "I don't know how to command a ship like this," Jake protested. "You will," Phoenix said confidently. "The moment you sit in the captain's chair, 50,000 years of human naval tradition will flow through you. You are not just Jake Morrison. Anymore, you are the heir to the greatest military commanders in galactic history." Jake walked to the bridge of the ancient ship. The captain's chair was elegant and simple, made of the same living metal as the walls. As he sat down, he felt a surge of energy flow through him. Suddenly, he knew things he had never learned. He understood the ship's weapons, its defenses, its capabilities. He could feel the ship responding to his thoughts, becoming an extension of his will. "Admiral Carter," he said, his voice stronger than before, "please contact the alien fleet. Tell them that Earth refuses their demands." "Jake," she said carefully, "are you sure about this?" He looked at her with eyes that seemed older than his 35 years. "I'm sure. It's time to remind the galaxy who we really are." Outside, the alien fleet waited for Earth's response. They had no idea they were about to face the awakened might of humanity's ancient empire. The alien fleet hung in space beyond Earth's moon like a collection of angry metal insects. 30 ships from the Zephyrian Empire and 20 crystal vessels from the Vortani collective had arrived within hours of each other. Their message was simple: surrender the ancient weapons or face the consequences. Supreme Chancellor Zereth of the Zephyrian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, a scaled vengeance. His reptilian features were twisted with anger. For 2 centuries, the Zephyrians had been the dominant military force in the galaxy. The idea that primitive humans had somehow acquired advanced weapons was insulting. "The humans are stalling," reported his communications officer. "They request more time to consider our demands." Zereth's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. Time to hide their illegal weapons, no doubt. Begin scanning their planet. Find these supposed ancient ships and target them for destruction. On the Vortani command ship, Prime Crystal pulsed with calculated thought. The Vortani were beings of living crystal who processed information faster than any organic mind. Prime Crystal had run thousands of simulations since learning of humanity's discovery. "The probability of successful deception is 0, Prime Crystal announced to its subordinates. Human genetic patterns show recent activation of dormant neural pathways. Conclusion: the ancient ships are real and functional. Should we withdraw?" Asked a smaller crystal entity. "Negative. If humans possess pre-console technology, they represent a threat to galactic stability. Threat must be eliminated." On Earth, Jake Morrison sat in the captain's chair of the Eternal Guardian. The ship had been moved to a hidden position behind Earth's moon, along with 5 other ancient vessels that had been raised from the ocean floor. Each ship was now commanded by a human officer whose genetic memories had been awakened by contact with the ancient technology. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Sarah Miller, his new tactical officer, "the alien fleet is beginning active scans of Earth's surface. They're looking for the other ships." Jake felt the ship's systems respond to his thoughts. The Eternal Guardian was unlike any vessel he had ever imagined. Its hull could become invisible to most sensors. Its weapons could strike targets from impossible distances, and its AI could predict enemy movements with frightening accuracy. "Phoenix," he said, "show me what we're dealing with." The bridge's main screen displayed detailed information about each enemy ship. Jake was surprised to see that he understood all of it. The awakened memories in his mind told him exactly how to defeat each class of vessel. "The Zephyrian ships are tough, but slow," Phoenix explained. "They rely on heavy armor and brute force. The Vortani vessels are faster and more maneuverable, but their crystal hulls shatter easily if you hit them in the right places." Commander Kate Sullivan's voice came through the communication system. She was commanding the ancient destroyer, Starfire, along with 4 other awakened ships. Jake were getting reports from around the galaxy. "Human colonies are under attack. The Council has declared us a rogue species." Jake felt a cold anger building in his chest. "They're attacking civilian colonies?" "Not directly," Kate replied. "But they're blockading trade routes, cutting off supplies, forcing human settlements to surrender any ancient technology they've found." Admiral Carter's face appeared on a smaller screen. "Jake, the situation is getting worse. The Nexari have joined the coalition against us. They're calling it Operation Cleansing Light." Jake stood up from his chair. The genetic memories flowing through him showed him similar situations from humanity's ancient past. The Terran Dominion had faced many challenges, but they had never backed down from protecting their people. "All ships, prepare for battle," he ordered. "We're going to show them what happens when you threaten human civilians." "Jake, Admiral," Carter said urgently, "there are 50 enemy ships out there. We only have 6. 6 ships from the Terran Dominion," Jake corrected. "Phoenix, bring us to full combat readiness." The Eternal Guardian's hull began to glow with internal energy. Weapon ports opened along its sides, revealing armaments that seemed to bend light around them. The ship's engines produced no visible exhaust, but Jake could feel the immense power flowing through its systems. "Captain," called out Dr. Amy Foster from the science station, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups in the alien fleet. They're preparing to fire on Earth's surface." "They're going to destroy the shipyards," Jake realized. "They can't risk more ancient ships being awakened." He closed his eyes and felt the ship's consciousness merge with his own. The Eternal Guardian wasn't just a machine. It was a living extension of human will, shaped by 50,000 years of genetic memory and technological evolution. "All ships, attack pattern Delta 7, Jake ordered, the tactical knowledge flowing through him automatically. "Target their command vessels first." The 6 ancient human ships moved like ghosts through space, their hulls shimmering with energy. That made them nearly invisible. The alien fleet didn't see them coming until it was too late. The Eternal Guardian's main weapon fired a beam of pure energy that passed through the scaled Vengeance's shields as if they weren't there. The Zephyrian flagship's hull cracked open like an egg, venting atmosphere and bodies into space. Impossible. Zirith screamed as emergency systems tried to keep his ship together. Human weapons cannot penetrate our shields? But they weren't human weapons in the way he understood them. They were Terran Dominion weapons, built by a civilization that had conquered half the galaxy and fought beings from beyond the stars. The Vortani ships tried to respond, their crystal hulls spinning to present different angles to the attacking humans. But Commander Sullivan's destroyer, the Starfire, fired a spread of projectiles that seemed to phase in and out of reality. When they struck the Vortani vessels, the crystal hulls rang like massive bells before shattering completely. "Retreat," Prime Crystal commanded. "Human technology exceeds all projections. We must regroup." But retreating from Terran Dominion ships was easier said than done. The ancient vessels could move through space in ways that defied physics, appearing and disappearing at will. Within 10 minutes, half the alien fleet was destroyed or disabled. Jake felt no pleasure in the victory. The genetic memories showed him countless battles where humanity had been forced to fight former allies and friends. But there was no choice. The galaxy's current leaders had chosen to see humanity as a threat rather than a protector. "This is Captain Morrison to all remaining alien vessels," he broadcast. "Leave Earth's solar system immediately. Any ship that remains will be destroyed." The surviving alien ships began to withdraw, but Jake knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen what awakened humanity could do, and they would not simply give up. They would gather larger fleets, make new alliances, and return with everything they had. "Phoenix," he said, "how many ancient ships are still sleeping throughout?" "The galaxy? Thousands, Captain. But awakening them all will take time, and the other races will not give us that time willingly." Jake looked at the tactical display showing the retreating alien fleet. In the distance, he could see more ships arriving, reinforcements from across the galaxy. The war for humanity's place in the universe was just beginning. "Commander Sullivan," he said, "begin awakening protocols for all sleeping ships in human-controlled space. We're going to need every vessel we can find." "Yes, sir," Kate replied. "Jake, there's something else. We're getting reports that some of the alien races are trying to destroy the sleeping ships before they can be awakened. They're bombing archaeological sites, flooding underwater locations, anything to prevent us from recovering our heritage." Jake felt the ancient anger of the Terran Dominion flowing through him. 50,000 years ago, humanity had tried to protect and guide the younger races. Now those same races were trying to destroy humanity's children out of fear and jealousy. "Then we'll have to protect them," he said, "all of them, no matter what the cost." The war for the galaxy's future had begun, and humanity was outnumbered 1,000 to 1. But they had something the other races had forgotten: the will to fight for their family, even when their family didn't want to be saved. 3 months had passed since the battle at Earth. The galaxy was now at war, though the Galactic Council called it a peacekeeping operation. Every major species had committed ships to hunt down and destroy human vessels, both ancient and modern. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Eternal Guardian, studying reports from across the galaxy. The news was not good. Human colonies were under siege, trade routes were blocked, and civilian ships were being captured or destroyed. The Council had declared humanity a rogue species and authorized military action against any human presence. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Sarah Miller, "we're receiving a distress signal from the Kepler colony. They're under attack by a Nexari battle group." Jake felt the weight of command pressing down on him. The Eternal Guardian was fast and powerful, but it was only one ship. There were thousands of human settlements across the galaxy, and he couldn't protect them all. "How many people at Kepler colony?" he asked. 50,000 civilians, sir, mostly farmers and miners." Jake closed his eyes and felt the ship's consciousness merge with his thoughts. The genetic memories showed him similar situations from the ancient past. The Terran Dominion had faced impossible odds before, but they had never abandoned their people. "Set course for Kepler colony," he ordered, "maximum speed." But as they jumped through hyperspace, Jake knew he was fighting a losing battle. The enemy had thousands of ships spread across the galaxy. Even with the advanced technology of the ancient vessels, humanity was outnumbered and outgunned. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Sam Phillips, the language expert, had been studying the ancient records found in the sleeping ships. He called Jake to the ship's library, where Phoenix displayed holographic images of star charts from 50,000 years ago. "Captain," Dr. Phillips said excitedly, "I've found something incredible." The Terran Dominion didn't just build individual ships. They built entire fleets and hid them in secret locations throughout the galaxy. Jake studied the star charts. They showed systems he had never heard of, hidden bases in asteroid fields, and massive shipyards concealed inside hollow moons. "Phoenix," he said, "are these bases still there?" "Most of them should be," the AI replied. "The Dominion built them to survive for millions of years. They were designed to remain hidden until humanity needed them again." "How many ships are we talking about?" "Each major cache contains between 100 and 1,000 vessels. There are 47 major caches scattered across the galaxy." Jake felt his heart racing. If they could find and activate even a few of these hidden fleets, they could turn the tide of the war. "What's the catch?" he asked. "There's always a catch. The caches are protected by genetic locks," Phoenix explained. "They can only be opened by humans with the proper genetic markers. And the activation process requires specific code sequences that were scattered through human cultural memory." "Doctor," Phillips nodded. "That's what I've been working on. The codes are hidden in human legends, myths, and stories. They're patterns that have been passed down through generations, without people realizing what they were." Jake looked at the star charts again. "Which cache is closest to our position?" "The Titan cache, located in the Crab Nebula. It contains approximately 300 ships, including several dreadnoughts." "How long would it take to get there?" 2 weeks by hyperspace," Phoenix replied. "But Captain, you should know that the Coalition forces are also searching for these caches. They have access to ancient Dominion records through their own archaeological discoveries." Jake made his decision. "We can't let them destroy humanity's heritage." Set course for the Crab Nebula. The journey to the Titan cache was dangerous. Coalition patrols were everywhere, and the Eternal Guardian had to avoid several large fleet formations. Jake used the ship's advanced stealth systems to remain hidden, but he knew their luck wouldn't last forever. When they finally reached the Crab Nebula, Jake was amazed by what they found. Hidden inside the nebula's gas clouds was a massive artificial structure, a hollow asteroid that had been converted into a shipyard. The facility was larger than most space stations, with docking bays that could hold hundreds of vessels. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Amy Foster, who had joined them for the mission. 50,000 years old, and it looks like it was built yesterday." As they approached the facility, Jake felt a strange sensation. The genetic memories in his mind were becoming stronger, more detailed. He could see the shipyard as it had been during the height of the Terran Dominion, busy with workers, filled with ships preparing for the war against the Void Seekers. "Phoenix," he said, "begin activation sequence." The ancient AI guided Jake through the process. It required him to place his hand on several scanning devices and speak code phrases that Dr. Phillips had discovered in human mythology. As each lock was opened, Jake felt more of his genetic memory awakening. The shipyard's main computer came online with a sound like distant thunder. Lights began glowing throughout the facility, and the air recycling system started working. In the massive docking bays, shapes began to emerge from the darkness. By the ancestors, Jake breathed, the ships were magnificent. Sleek destroyers, massive cruisers, and 3 enormous dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in the current galaxy. Each vessel was a masterpiece of engineering, built with technology that made contemporary ships look primitive. "How long will it take to wake them all up?" Jake asked. "The ship's AI systems are already activating," Phoenix replied. "But they will need crews. Each vessel requires at least 20 humans to operate effectively." Jake felt a stab of disappointment. "We don't have enough people. The Eternal Guardian's crew is only 15. "There is another way," Phoenix said carefully. "The ships can be operated in drone mode, controlled by a master AI. But this requires a human commander to make the final decisions." You mean one person could control an entire fleet? Theoretically, yes. But the mental strain would be enormous. The commander would need to think like 100 different ships at once. Jake looked at the awakening fleet. 300 ships, each one more powerful than anything the Coalition had. It was humanity's best hope for survival. "I'll do it," he said. "Captain," Dr. Foster said worriedly, "are you sure?" Phoenix said the strain could be enormous. "I'm sure," Jake replied. "My ancestors made sacrifices to protect the galaxy. I can make this one to protect humanity." The process of linking Jake's mind to the fleet's eye systems was unlike anything he had ever experienced. He felt his consciousness expanding, touching each ship's computer brain. Suddenly, he could see through hundreds of sensors, think with dozens of processing units, and feel the power of an entire fleet flowing through him. It was overwhelming at first. The sensation of being in multiple places at once made him dizzy, but gradually his mind adapted. The genetic memories helped him understand how to coordinate the fleet's movements, how to think tactically on a massive scale. Fleet activation complete, Phoenix announced. "All ships are under your command, Admiral Morrison." Jake realized that Phoenix had promoted him. He was no longer just a captain. He was now the admiral of the largest human fleet in 50,000 years. "All ships, prepare for departure," he ordered. His voice echoed through the communication systems of 300 vessels. "We have a galaxy to save." But as the fleet began to move, Jake's expanded consciousness detected something troubling. Coalition forces were approaching the nebula in massive numbers. They had found the cache and were coming to destroy it. "Admiral," reported the tactical AI, "enemy fleet detected. 600 ships, multiple species. They'll be here in 3 hours." Jake felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders. 300 ships against 600. The odds were better than usual, but still not good. "Then we'll have to make those 3 hours count," he said. "All ships, battle stations. It's time to show the galaxy what the Terran Dominion can do." The greatest space battle in 50,000 years was about to begin, and Jake Morrison found himself at the center of it all. The fate of humanity, and possibly the entire galaxy, rested in his hands. The battle for the Titan cache had been won, but at a terrible cost. Jake Morrison sat in the command chair of the Eternal Guardian, his mind still connected to the fleet of ancient ships. 200 vessels remained from the original 300. The Coalition had lost over 400 ships, but they would send more. "Admiral," reported Lieutenant Sarah Miller, "we're receiving priority communications from across the galaxy. Something's happening at the Galactic Rim." Jake felt a chill run through his expanded consciousness. The genetic memories were screaming warnings that he didn't fully understand. "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The image that appeared made everyone on the bridge gasp. The outer edge of the galaxy was turning black. Not the normal darkness of space, but a writhing, hungry darkness that seemed to devour light itself. "Phoenix," Jake said quietly, "tell me those aren't what I think they are." "I'm afraid they are, Admiral. The Void Seekers have returned." The ancient Ayas voice carried a weight of fear that Jake had never heard before. On the screen, massive shapes moved through the darkness. Ships that were larger than space stations. Beings that fed on the energy of stars themselves. "How many?" Jake asked. "Sensors indicate at least 10,000 major vessels," Phoenix replied. "They're consuming entire star systems as they advance. 3 colonies have already gone dark." Jake felt the blood drain from his face. The Coalition had 6,000 ships spread across the galaxy, and they were already committed to fighting humanity. Against 10,000 Void Seekers, they wouldn't stand a chance. "Get me a direct channel to the Coalition fleet," he ordered. "Admiral," Dr. Amy Foster said from her station, "are you sure that's wise?" They're still trying to destroy us. They won't be soon, Jake replied grimly. Not when they see what's coming. The communication screen flickered to life, showing the IVE. Faces of the Coalition's military leaders. Supreme Chancellor Zereth of the Zephyrians, Prime Crystal of the Vortani, and War Marshal Phylix of the Nexari. All of them looked angry and hostile. Human Admiral, Zereth hissed, we will not negotiate with terrorists. Surrender your illegal weapons or face complete annihilation. Jake looked at them with eyes that held 50,000 years of genetic memory. Look at your long-range sensors, he said calmly. Look at the galactic rim. Then tell me if you still think humanity is your biggest problem. The alien leaders turned to check their displays. Jake watched their expressions change from anger to confusion to pure terror. Impossible, whispered Prime Crystal, its crystalline form flickering with rapid calculations. The energy readings exceed all known parameters. Those are void seekers. Jake said, the same beings that nearly destroyed the galaxy 50,000 years ago. The same beings that forced humanity to sacrifice its empire to stop them. War Marshal Phylix, whose energy form normally blazed with confident light, seemed to dim. You're lying. This is some human trick. Phoenix, Jake said, show them the historical records. The ancient AI transmitted data files to the Coalition ships. Images of the original war appeared on their screens, entire star systems being consumed, billions of beings dying, the Terran Dominion fighting desperately against an enemy that seemed unstoppable. This is why humanity gave up its empire, Jake continued. Not because we were defeated, but because we chose to become something the Void Seekers couldn't predict or counter. We scattered ourselves across the galaxy, forgot our power, and waited for the day when we would be needed again. Supreme Chancellor Zereth's reptilian features had gone pale. How do we fight them? With unity, Jake replied. The ancient records show that the Void Seekers adapt to any single strategy, any single technology. They can counter individual species, but they struggle against coordinated attacks from multiple civilizations. You're asking us to ally with humans, Prime Crystal said, after we have spent months trying to destroy you. I'm asking you to remember why the Terran Dominion was created in the first place, Jake answered. To protect the galaxy, to protect all life. Your people, our people, everyone. The Coalition leaders looked at each other uncertainly. 50,000 years of believing they were the galaxy's rightful rulers was hard to overcome. What do you propose? War Marshal Phylix asked finally. A new alliance, Jake said. Humans provide the ancient weapons and tactical knowledge. The Coalition provides the numbers and industrial capacity. Together, we might have a chance. As they talked, more reports came in from the galactic rim. The Void Seekers were advancing, faster than anyone had expected. Entire sectors were going dark, as the hungry darkness consumed everything in its path. Admiral Morrison called out Commander Kate Sullivan from the Starfire. We're receiving emergency signals from the Nexus system. It's under attack. Jake's expanded consciousness felt the fear radiating from billions of beings as the Void Seekers approached the galaxy's most populated region. The genetic memories showed him similar moments from the ancient war, the terrible choice between saving some and losing all. All Coalition forces, he broadcast on all channels. This is Admiral Morrison of the Terran Fleet. I'm transmitting defensive coordinates to all your ships. Follow our lead, and we might save your people. Why should we trust you? Zereth demanded. Because I'm about to do something that will either save the galaxy or destroy everything we've built, Jake replied. Phoenix, activate the Omega Protocol. The ancient I hesitated. Admiral, are you certain? The Omega Protocol requires the sacrifice of an entire fleet to create a temporal barrier. There's no guarantee it will work. Do it, Jake ordered. Across the galaxy, every awakened Terran ship began to glow with building energy. The vessels started moving toward the advancing Void Seekers, but not to attack them. Instead, they were positioning themselves to create a massive energy web that would slow the enemy advance. "What are you doing?" War Marshal Thylex asked in alarm. "Buying time," Jake replied. "The Omega Protocol will create a temporal barrier that should hold the Void Seekers for several hours, long enough for us to coordinate a real defense." "But your ships will be destroyed, yes," Jake said calmly. "Just like my ancestors destroyed themselves to save the galaxy 50,000 years ago. The only difference is that this time we're not alone." The coalition leaders watched in amazement as the human ships moved into position with perfect coordination. Each vessel was piloted by crews who had volunteered for a mission they knew they wouldn't survive. "Admiral," Dr. Foster said quietly, "there might be another way. If we can modify the coalition ship's weapons with Terran technology, we might be able to fight the Void Seekers directly." Jake felt hope stirring in his chest. Through his connection to the fleet, he could sense the modifications needed. It would require perfect timing and incredible trust between former enemies. "All coalition ships," he broadcast, "prepare to receive technology uploads. We're going to teach you how to hurt things that exist outside normal space-time." The next few hours were the most intense of Jake's life. His consciousness split between hundreds of ships as human engineers worked with alien crews to modify weapons, shields, and engines. The genetic memories guided him through technology that seemed like magic to the other species. When the Void Seekers finally broke through the temporal barrier, they faced something they had never encountered before. A united galaxy fighting with weapons, designed specifically to counter their abilities. The battle raged across dozens of star systems. The Void Seekers were powerful, but they couldn't adapt fast enough to the combined tactics of multiple species using hybrid technology. Zephyrian ships armed with Terran energy weapons. Vortani vessels using human phase technology. Nexari energy. Beings channeling ancient human defensive algorithms. Jake felt every shot fired, every ship lost, every small victory that brought them closer to success. The genetic memories showed him patterns in the enemy movements, weaknesses that had been discovered through centuries of ancient warfare. "Focus fire on the central entity," he ordered as his consciousness guided the battle. "That's their coordination node. If we can destroy it, the rest will lose cohesion." The combined fleet concentrated their fire on a massive dark shape at the center of the Void Seeker formation. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, suddenly, the darkness began to crack like breaking glass. Light poured out of the cracks, not normal light, but something older and purer, the Void Seekers. Formation wavered and began to collapse. "It's working," shouted Commander Sullivan. "They're retreating." Jake watched through 1,000 sensors as the Void Seekers pulled back toward the galactic rim. They weren't destroyed, but they were defeated. "For now, Admiral Morrison," said Supreme Chancellor Zirith, his voice filled with respect Jake had. "Never heard before? We owe you an apology, and our thanks." "You owe me nothing," Jake replied. "We all owe each other." That's what the Terran Dominion was really about, not ruling the galaxy, but protecting it. In the aftermath of the battle, the galaxy began to rebuild. The Galactic Council was reformed with Earth as its capital, acknowledging humanity's role as the galaxy's protectors. The other species, humbled by their near extinction, worked to integrate Terran technology with their own. Jake Morrison, now known as Supreme Admiral of the Galactic Defense Force, stood on the bridge of the Eternal Guardian looking out at the stars. The genetic memory